Because sometimes we might think that we, fantastic designers, can overcome nature with our fantastic designs. If we still think like that, we might be doing this. We might be actually trying to fight with nature. But I tell you, it is impossible to fight nature. This is the designer. This is nature. We are trying to douse the fire with a small pail of water. Cannot be. Much worse. Sometimes, as a designer, we may not even be throwing water. We may be even throwing gasoline. In other words, cooking ourselves in by our designs so that we have more problems in the building environment. Okay, so in the end, that is what we have to work on. So what I'm going to talk about today is this. First, there's so much talk about climate change. Let us examine how was this caused. From here, we're going to look at the scope of green design. So in all those cause and effects solutions, we're going to look at the area which green architecture actually falls into. And let's talk about a little bit about green design concepts. No? It's not going to be heavy, don't worry. Just to give an idea of what makes this thing tick. Then we're going to talk about Green AP, what we do, and we'll finally launch our program for this year. So let's search for the cause. What we can perceive with our senses are intensified disasters. This is a picture of the fire in LA last year, I think. Okay? Taken from the sea. So disasters is what we can perceive. Now, the scientists say that intensified disasters is caused by climate change. Not the scientists, but this climate change, they say, is caused by global warming. Temperatures are going up in the world, polar caps are melting, sea levels are rising, and therefore we're causing all of that. What is caused by global warming? The issue is carbon. That's why what is happening is that we're throwing so much carbon up into the atmosphere, and such that the heat is being trapped in the atmosphere, and therefore it's causing all of that thing. Scientists claim that the carbon dioxide, carbon in the air should be lower than 450 particles per billion. But in 2007, already we were hitting 385 and rising at 2 to 3 particles per billion per year. So imagine we are increasing onto that tipping point, so to speak, in which we'll have a big disaster. Now, of course, I read in another book that more than carbon dioxide, the bigger danger is methane. And they say that there's a lot of methane trapped in the cold parts of Siberia all these months. So that when the ice there melts, it will release so much methane that we're going to be really in trouble. Okay, so carbon, and that's why all this the Kyoto Protocol, the Copenhagen, they're working on that concept of trying to get countries to lower their carbon. What is causing that carbon? Fossil fuel. Fossil fuel plants, transportation, etc. We're throwing a lot of carbon into the air. Why do we have to do that? We have built an environment which needs a lot of energy. Now this picture here, Las Vegas. Out of the desert, they produce a city. Okay? And why do we need so much energy? Goes back to us. Our lifestyles. How many of us, I'm guilty of this, have 2 or 3 cell phones you have to charge every night? What happened to the one cell phone business? Cars. We used to have 1 car. They introduced color coding. You buy 2 cars. So, again, no? Guess where this is? Dubai. In the desert, they have a skiing area. Imagine that. How much energy is being thrown into that thing just for this. So things to think about. In other words, is that. So, in the end, if you want the whole thing, let's go backwards. We have created a very energy-needing lifestyle, which needs a lot of power from fossil fuel plants, producing a lot of carbon in the air, causing global warming, causing climate change, and intensifying our natural disasters. So again, if you just look at the chart, we are guilty. It's us who have created this world we are in right now because of this. Notice these three things. They're the things which we can do something about. Lifestyle. Can we reduce, recycle? Famous adage of green movements. Can we look at more energy efficient ways of doing things? And thirdly, on generating power, can we look at alternatives to generate power? Now these three is specifically and precisely the area where green design and sustainability can come in. We can do something about this. Those are the effects, and we can't do much about those. So if we focus on these things, we can do something with the world, with our profession, with our involvement. Let me show you a picture of the world which we have created. We have created cities, demanding a lot of energy, taking lots of power from a fossil fuel power plant, emitting lots of pollution into the air, carbon, acid rain. This thing needs bunker fuel, oil. You have oil here, not so sure, it probably spills in, affecting our potable water supply. You have housing developments far away from where people work. And that's why you have cars motoring back and forth every day to move people from places of work to places of living. You have a river here, which should be used for recreation. Yet we have all our pollution, our factories and power plants spilling pollution into the water. We are creating a grave for ourselves in reality. Okay? Let me talk about the natural cycle. For example, take a look at the rain. It rains on the ground. It's supposed to get filtered through bedrock. Comes out in springs, rivers, lakes, seas, evaporates back into the air, and rains down again. That is a closed cycle. That is a sustainable cycle. What we are doing, and probably one of the reasons why we have this fantastic floods in Algoy and Quebec, is that we have created cities and where we have moved water from the highest point to the lowest point as quickly as possible. Why? Rains on the roof, PVC downspouts, to our concrete catch bases, to our concrete pipes, to our concrete storm drains in the city. It goes out to the lake. And if all of that happens at the same time, the river cannot go. Okay, so what is the alternative? Some of you have attended some lectures I've given before. The idea of having the water go back to the ground to recharge the water table to the, for example, having paver blocks instead of concrete slabs. You can also use what is known as bioswales. Oh, this is the internet generation. That's why I like to talk to young guys. Bioswales, Google search word. Get a lot of information there. In other words, it's having water move from one place to the other, but as it's moving to that, it's seeping into the ground. Okay? In other words, that way, you're slowing down movement of water at the same time you're recharging the water table, and at the end of that thing, you actually have less volume of water. Okay, so that is one of the things which we have created for ourselves, and we can change that. No? Look at this. If you're looking at carbon, look at this red line. That's buildings. That's the greatest contribution to carbon in the earth. Therefore, since we are all here involved in the built environment, we have a big responsibility. If we want to lower carbon, then we've got a lot of things to do. Let's talk about energy consumption. These are US data. Buildings consume almost half, 48%, of all the energy needed, or produced rather. Okay, so you can see that we are actually, people in the building industry, the built environment, is actually the ones building for society, but at the same time we seem to be building our own graves.